according to a report by the International Labour Organization. Now, according to the ILO, SSNIT's income is projected to be insufficient to cover its yearly expenses starting in 2029. Now, this will lead to a depletion of its reserves. So what's the report been saying? A number of things. It says, for instance, that SSNIT may be unable to make payments by 2036. It says SSNIT's income will not be enough to cover its annual expenditures beginning in 2029. It goes further to say that by 2036, the reserve ratio, which compares the end-of-year reserves to the year's total expenditures, is expected to fall from 3.4 to 0. Right, we will be speaking shortly to Abdullah Mashood. He is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Retirement Research. We'll also be hearing from SSNIT because SSNIT did organize a press conference yesterday to also explain its side of the issue. So we'll bring you all the perspectives and then you can make the judgment yourself. Abdullah Mashood, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Retirement Research. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. You have heard this report. You have read it extensively. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much, Pakosi, and good evening to your viewers.
I'm going to ask you to hold on. I first need us to hear the very latest. That's the response that came from SSNIT yesterday, and then I can take a response as to what SSNIT has been saying. So let's listen to that press conference organized by SSNIT yesterday.
So it says that if we don't do a few things, or they made some recommendations, that we should make sure that we implement those recommendations, or we take steps to implement them so that we don't hit the 2036 mark that has become topical for the past 1 week. What it means, we try to explain, is that it doesn't mean that the scheme is going to collapse in 2036, not at all. What it means is that based on the assumptions they use in the projection, just like in the other reports, in the 2011 report that I showed, 2014, 2017, similar findings were made, and they in the results, and they made similar recommendations. And among them was to adjust the contribution rate from the current rate that we have at 11% to say 16%, for example, in 2011 report. Various reports, various suggestions have come. Even in 2020 report that we are discussing, the ILO said that for SSNIT to be more sustainable, the contribution report should be 22%, not the current 11% that we have. So it means that these are measures you put in place. Like I said, the report gives you a telescopic view of what will happen in the future based on the assumptions they use in the model that they run and give all those results. So it's not something you should take it hook, line, and sinker. You can't take that in isolation and say the report says it's going to collapse in 2020. That's not what it is. It comes with other factors, and all those factors put together will give you that result. And so that's what we sought today to explain. And then say that even before we talk about increasing contribution rate from the current level of 11% to 22% or 16% or whatever percentage, which, by the way, we need to engage our stakeholders, the worker unions, the unions, the employers, the regulator, the states, in all these discussions before we come out with the rates. We, the actuaries, will do our job professionally and come out with scenarios. And then through this process of amendments, we can now suggest some of them that have to be taken in order to make the scheme sustainable. Even before we do that, SSNIT in-house has taken steps, definite steps, specific to make sure that the scheme is sustainable. And I listed some of the steps. I don't want to go through again. I've done the presentation already. And that's what we are doing to make sure that we kick the bucket down, further down the road before we do anything regarding the amendments to the law to make sure that the scheme is sustainable into the foreseeable future. But I'm going to assure all our stakeholders, especially pensioners, contributors especially, and those we are trying to roll into the scheme by way of the seed project, that SSNIT contributions are safe. There is no danger of we defaulting or the seeds collapsing or anything like that. No, far from that. Your investments are also protected. I've already enumerated them, and so nobody should have any reservation at all to proceed with the seed agenda and bring their resources so that they can protect themselves in future when they retire.
Right, so you just heard the Director General of SSNIT there, back in studio. Abdullah Mashood is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Retirement Research, ACRR. Thank you very much. You heard the man there. I mean, you can't help but agree with him that you cannot take everything the report says hook, line, and sinker. It's a totality. You've got to look at all the factors in arriving at a decision.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, getting SSNIT to respond to an actuarial valuation report, this is the first time we have had the opportunity to listen to SSNIT as far as actuarial valuation reports are concerned. This is not the first time actuarial valuation is conducted on the scheme. Just as you mentioned, we had one in 2011,
right.
We had one in 2014,
right.
2017, 2020. The picture that was painted in 2011 indicated that the scheme was in very good shape. And it was because the impact of the reforms. Remember, the reforms came in with a reduction of Social Security contribution to the SSNIT scheme from 17.5% to 13.5%. It also, reduced the minimum contributed period from 240 to 180. So within the 2011 actuarial valuation, the impact of sustainability hadn't kicked in at the time. But what happened in 2014, when actuarial valuation was conducted in 2014, the actuarial opinion that was expressed in the ILO report did indicate that the scheme was not financially sustainable and is set for depletion by 2042. If nothing is done, that is the condition that was given. And it's proposed a lot of recommendation in the actuarial valuation report. 3 years later in 2017, another one was conducted. And it indicated that, look, remember you guys, I warned you in 2014 that if you don't do ABC, the scheme would not be sustainable given the economic and the demographic environment it's going to operate. Again, nothing was done. We had another one, the recent actuarial valuation that we are talking about. Don't forget, it indicated the same opinion. An actuarial valuation report is summarized into what we call an actuarial opinion, and the opinion simply certifies whether the scheme is financially sustainable or not. For 3 successive actuarial valuation, we have been told that, and nothing has happened. Don't forget, the current actuarial valuation report that we are talking about is in respect of 31st December, it's as at 31st December 2020. What has happened to the state of the scheme as far as its financial health is concerned between 2021 and 2023, we don't know. Let me give you a hint about the actual state of the scheme, even though the actual valuation report covering that period is not out. But let me just hint you on the possible outlook of the next actual valuation report. Before I get there, let me tell you that within that frame, from 2021 to 2023, the picture would even be gloomier than what we are currently experiencing. Why? I'm just going to take 4 variables to really indicate that. We have what we call dependency ratio. The dependency ratio is looking at the number of workers or contributors who are contributing to support one pensioner. Not long ago, we had 17 contributors supporting one pensioner. As we speak today, it has come down to 7. Now, 2014, 2017, and 2020 actual valuation reports, the migration was assumed to be 0. ILO in the next valuation report covering 2021 to 2023 cannot afford to overlook migration. We have seen active labor force flying out of the country in search of greener pastures as a result of difficult economic environment.
Yeah, and so those people are no longer going to contribute.
They are not going to contribute. So it's going to affect the contributor population against a rising pensioner population. So definitely the dependency ratio is going to dip. And that is a major indicator contributing to the picture as far as actual opinion is concerned.
But are the numbers that significant in terms of those who are migrating?
It will be. It will be. I told you it is currently standing at 7. Let's see what happens. I'll come back to
the dependency ratio declined from 17 to 7.
Yes. That is what is happening.
Not to talk of the migration that is also occurring within the last...
Currently, I'm just trying to give you a sense of what we are likely to see in the next valuation report. Right now, we are crying over a report that is in reference to 31st December 2020.
And your suggestion is that what's going to come later is going to be more damning than what we're seeing right now.
And that is exactly the picture I'm trying to paint. Let's talk about government indebtedness. Of course, we are analyzing the period 2021 to 2023, which is going to constitute the next valuation report. And I'm telling you that government indebtedness, if you pick 2021 SSNIT report, the total debt was 96.4 billion.
So that slide we're seeing right now, according to the ILO report, also says that as at the end of December 2021, the government owed SSNIT 9.35 billion cedis, with late payments accounting for 6.9 billion cedis of this debt.
Exactly. So if we have this in 2021, this is a trend that has been sustained.
And consequently, the delays in government payments has reduced SSNIT's investment returns by 1.3%.
Exactly. And in fact, late payment of social security contribution, especially from the public sector, from government, is inflicting the biggest pain as far as the sustainability fortunes.
When you say government indebtedness, you mean government's contribution payments?
Exactly, on behalf of public sector workers.
Okay.
That is what I'm talking about. So, what do they call it? Establishment indebtedness is a major issue, and I'm happy they mentioned that they are taking steps to really, get government to comply with 3.3 of the provision. In fact, government is the guarantor of the SSNIT scheme, and she's the one who is violating section 3.3 of the act, which says that contribution must be paid on time to allow.
So this is not even the private companies that are violating.
No, it is government that is violating that particular portion of the law. We've
also seen SSNIT make significant investments in real estate and other, they hold interest in a lot more entities.
Now what happens is that if we are talking, I was coming to investment, the ability of investment income to support the benefit payment function of a public system, public pension system, is measured by its real returns on investments. Again, for the period 2021 to 2023, in 2021, SSNIT posted a positive real returns on investment of 8.84. Now, inflation average, due to difficult and economic challenges, inflation averaged 31% in 2022. It averaged 40% in 2023. I don't see SSNIT investment, nominal returns outperforming the average inflation for those periods. So definitely, SSNIT is going to post negative real returns on their investment for 2022 and 2023.
I'm afraid we've got little time to end this conversation, but what's the way forward? What do we have to do about this?
The first thing we have to do, first of all, let's look at the main recommendation of the actuarial report. It says that the scheme is not sustainable within the projection period if we don't increase the contribution rate. So it has recommended strongly that there is a need for us to increase contribution onto the scheme. Remember, the current income rate is 11%, and it is recommending that there is a need for increment. I think we have to begin to look in that direction. I've heard organized labor saying that the scheme has been mismanaged. SSNIT has been very transparent over a period as far as the management of the scheme is concerned, and so they are not going to listen to that. From a policy perspective, I think they have to go to the